You know, Captain Picard as a character and Patrick Stewart as an actor is quite frankly probably the reason that we're even talking about Star Trek. It's his performance as Captain Picard that sells the updated franchise back in 1987. But looking back at the character from the point of view of a working writer in Hollywood, I gotta tell you, there's some interesting paradigms when it comes to Captain Jean-Luc Picard. What he says in this very first episode is far different from how the character will actually act as the series progresses. But hey, we're here to have fun and do a deep dive into obviously the star of the show, Captain Picard. I'm Trader Bubba, writer-producer in Hollywood. This here's Cousin Emmy. You're watching Bubba Breaks Sci-Fi.
This baby hits 88 miles per hour. You're gonna see some serious shit.
Whoa. Have you ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream?
So say we all.
Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives.
Engage.
Bubba Breaks Sci-Fi.
But you can't deny that you're still a dangerous, savage child race.
I agree we still were when humans wore costumes like that.
So in the very first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, humanity is put on trial with Captain Jean-Luc Picard basically representing all of mankind. Q accuses, Picard and all humans of being a childly savage race. And when he appears in this modern day to us military uniform, Picard calls it a costume. Picard says that we've outgrown those childish instincts to fight amongst each other, and a few episodes later, this would happen. Picard would go into the holodeck to recreate early 20th century America, create a world with guns, violence, and get his crewmen shot. He just told Q a few episodes prior that humanity has moved past this, that they're peaceful people. And it's true, obviously they are, but when it comes to recreation, they keep going to the holodeck and creating worlds with guns and violence. One thing that's always stuck out with me as the character is a moment in the very first episode, the pilot, where he is having his first real conversation with Commander Riker. Even though they kind of met briefly before this is their real chance to be alone together and have a conversation as captain and first officer.
I would appreciate it if you could keep me from making an ass of myself with children. I'm not a family man, Riker.
So early in the series, they really tried to make Captain Picard this staunch British sort of naval captain, and they would stick with that for the first few years. I mean, really, in some aspects throughout the entire series, but they sort of morphed it into him not so being staunch and British as much as private and wanting to put on a strong face for leadership purposes. From a screenwriter's perspective, it's interesting looking back to see what they did with the character, because they didn't really do much with him the first couple of seasons, and again, it was they were still trying to find their footing as a show. It wouldn't really be until the third season where we kind of got an interesting take on Picard as a character, and what they would do is they would always find ways to do what I call fish out of water scenes. So in this case, in the third season, we see Picard on vacation, right? The staunch private man on Risa, a vacation planet, which at the time he didn't know that Risa was basically a place to go to if you're horny and looking to get some. And Riker plays a little trick on him. And it's a lighter episode. It's humorous. Again, it's that fish out of water, putting Picard in a position that makes him uncomfortable. And it's humorous for our benefit, not so much for him. And a lot of this stems too from the Gene Roddenberry rule, where the characters are not allowed to have conflict with each other, which makes it very difficult to write. But in this case, they give him his first real love interest. This is the first time that we see Captain Picard as somewhat of an action man, James Bond or Indiana Jones type figure. To me, Picard's greatest moments as a character come out because of, quite frankly, his biggest arch nemesis, which is Q. It's Q that really brings out the most in Picard, and it's fun. It kind of reminds me of Batman and the Joker in a much lighter fare, obviously. But they really are the yin and yang, with Picard being the staunch, sort of conservative, private man, and Q being this wild card that forces Picard to actually have discussions and talk about things like, in this particular episode, regret. This episode is built around Picard's youth as a wild man and the young ensign sowing his oats, and Picard having regrets about his actions in his youth and not feeling disciplined. And of course, it's in this lesson that Q teaches him that your past is who makes you who you are. So much so that when Captain Picard goes to fix the decisions that he felt was wrong in his past, he comes back and he's a lieutenant junior grade science officer who nobody notices or cares to even promote, I guess. But there's a valuable lesson in here of honoring your past and your past decisions, because it's our decisions that drive us and our past that defines us, but it's what we learn from it and how we choose to move forward with our past mistakes and not mistakes, the good and the bad, taking everything, putting it together and learning everything we can from our constant decision making to be a better person in the following day, year, and years to come. When I hit 1,000 subs, I'm going to be doing a giveaway, and giving away this. I'm giving her all she's got Captain shirt. If you don't feel like waiting, the shirt's available at tradebubba.com. Proceeds go to charity. Right now, proceeds will be going to the support Cousin Emmy's family through medical crisis GoFundMe. For more information, click the link down below. tradebubba.com. Discount code in the description.
Hello! Good luck with the giveaway. Mwah! Bye!
And I don't think Picard ever really kind of thought about that. I think he just saw himself as a bit of a wild card in his youth, a wild man, and then somehow a switch got flipped, and now he sees himself as the perfect man now. And that's the part that really interests me, because going back to the pilot, when he first meets Q, and he tells him that we have moved beyond our childish, savage ways when we wore costumes like that, again, pointing out the costume that Q was wearing as a military officer from our modern day. And Picard saying, we as a people, especially me, we're better than you are. And he's telling us, the audience, hey, look at who you are, because the future is going to be so much better. But yet, here he is as a character with the same foibles that we all have, unable to reconcile his past, having regret, and begging for promotion at work, and totally getting blown off because he hasn't taken any chances. He hasn't taken any risks to stand out. There's nothing more human than that. And I also enjoy how Picard tells us, the audience, that he's better than us because they don't succumb to violence. They treat everyone equally. Everyone's got their fair shake in the universe that he lives in, and it's because they've evolved. It's very self-righteous statements that Picard makes, especially in that first 2 seasons, really. If you go back and watch all the episodes when they're interacting with the different races and cultures. But yet, if Picard is so much better than us, then why is his biggest regret such a moment of violence in his past? Because Picard and all his self-righteousness saying that they're so much better than us, well, there you have it. It's this moment of violence that defines him. It's this moment of sheer brutality that they supposedly have evolved past that makes him the captain that he is. And it's interesting too how he always held himself a little bit of a distance from his crew, and that he felt that he had to. His character journey throughout the series is small but still deeply noticeable and personable. Obviously at the very end of the series, this is the first time we see him sit down at a game of poker, looking at not his friends, not his crew, but really his family.
I should have done this a long time ago.
It's interesting to me as a writer how attractive this character was to the audience. I don't mean physically, but everybody seemed to really be drawn to him as a character. And he's not, he's not Action Man. He's not Captain Kirk, who's ripping a shirt in every episode while fighting giant lizards in a desert, or, getting in crazy shootouts. He's an interesting character because, first of all, if you look at it from a modern day politics point of view. He's actually very conservative. He's very much law and order. He constantly talks about the Prime Directive, which is a massive shift from the original series, where Captain Kirk and his crew were going from planet to planet in that original series, spreading their version of liberalism at that point from the 1960s point of view, saying that our point of view is right and we have the authority, I guess, or the need to impart our societal standards onto you, this crazy alien world who is doing something wackadoo based on our standards. Does that make sense? Where in the Next Generation, Picard is very much, it's not our place to do this. We have no right to impart our beliefs onto another society, no matter how much we may want to, which comes up in a few different episodes. So it's interesting that such a staunch, really conservative character in what is quite frankly a bit of a liberal show is so appealing to such a mass audience, that everyone responded so well to him. Picard's greatest connections to the other characters were usually some form of intellectualism, not action-based saving lives. It was always, how can I help you be a better person? Whether it was with Wesley as a boy and being a father figure, or even Data, who again, it was just another type of father figure. So this is the scene that's really telling, because despite having personal connections to all of his crew, he's never joined them as a family in a sort of family setting like this. For me as a writer into person, it really challenged me on how I write my leaders, my heroes in my stories, because after all, if there's one thing that Picard has taught us, is that a leader comes from a position of strength. But sometimes that strength isn't physical. Guys, I'm writer, producer, Trader Bubba. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive of Captain Picard. I think he's an interesting character, and I love the dichotomy of him being so righteous in that first episode and saying how better he is and how people are in the future, while immediately going to the holodeck and creating guns and getting his crewmen shot. I love that he says that humanity has moved past the point of, barbarianism, yet in his youth, it was a moment of barbaric violence that is his biggest, deepest regret. But I also enjoyed Picard's stoicism. His natural leadership isn't necessarily shown through constant action and combat. It's shown through calmness. Thank you so much to my new Patreon and YouTube channel members. I really appreciate your support. Don't go away just yet, because if you like this video on Picard, you're going to want to check out this video on Riker, my least favorite character, as I said in that video. Keyword, still being favorite, guys. I'm Trader Reba, and I'll see you in the next video.